And now we have the factor theorem. Now the factor theorem, again, is not something that you have to recite back to me. It's just something that you want to be able to use. And so what I have here is if I was to take these four bubbles and multiply them together, it would give me this polynomial. Now these bubbles, each of them is a factor of this polynomial, meaning if I was to take this and divide it unevenly, I wouldn't get a remainder because it divides unevenly. Just like if I was to take 4 and divide it into 20, I would get 5. And so 4 and 5 are both factors of 20 because you can divide them unevenly. However, if I was to divide in 3 times 6 gives me 18. Subtract, I get 2. 3 doesn't go into 2, so I've got this remainder. So 3 is not a factor of 20 because it has a remainder. But 4 is a factor because it doesn't have a remainder. Now, if I was to take one of these, let's just say that one, and divide it into my polynomial, let's use synthetic division. If I was to do that, and I go through all this math, you would see that my remainder is 0, which means I don't have a remainder. So, what does the factor theorem says? The factor theorem says a polynomial, f of x, has x minus k as a factor if and only if f of k equals 0. So what that means is if you know that x minus k is a factor, then you also know f of k equals 0. But it goes the other way. If you know f of k equals 0, then you also know that x minus k is a factor. So let's say I had a function, and I know that x minus 2 is a factor. Then I also know that f of 2 equals 0. Or let's say I have another function, and I know that f of negative 4 equals 0, well then I know that x plus 4 is a factor and will divide in evenly for my polynomial. And we use this all the time because if we were to do synthetic division, and let's say we had some kind of number here, and we got down here and we got 0 as our remainder, then I would say, hey, this is a 0, which means x minus that number is a factor, and I can start writing out all the bubbles by figuring out all those different numbers where I get 0 as a remainder. And that's the factor theorem.